Hokie hangover. It's a victory pod tonight, Michael. Even though it is just you and I, we could at least get to discuss a win this evening. We're going to have a much better night than a certain somebody who's been residing in Louisiana lately.
Yeah, I mean, there's never a good time to live in Louisiana.
Boom, roasted.
Now, I do think if you live in Louisiana, you may as well get paid like $800,000 a month or whatever Brian Kelly's making. So that helps.
Yeah, we'll get into the Brian Kelly dismissal in a little bit. But in case you haven't seen that yet, Louisiana State University making coaching change, joining the ranks of Power Four programs that are looking for a head coach. Probably not the last one. So we'll get to that at the end of the pod here. But
could be the
more
best
important,
one, by the way. Could be the best one. Has a strong argument to be.
Right now, probably. I think I would rate them as the top job. Although the surrounding circumstances at LSU seem like a shit show, and don't take that job if you are faint of heart or you value security or stability or anything like that.
Make sure you have a huge buyout.
Yeah, and maybe don't buy a house, just rent.
yeah, because they'll turn on you quick.
We're not turning on Virginia Tech. The Hokies were able to win this one on Friday night. 42-34. Tech jumps out to a 10-point lead, is down 10 at halftime. Bunch of fans left, especially in the student section. It was very sparse in the stadium. However, Mike, a rowdy contingent, a cadre of visionaries, revolutionaries, luminaries of college football in the student section stuck around. They rallied Virginia Tech back. Tech scores 10 unanswered in the third. Is able to win this one 42-34 and knock off the Cowgirl.
Yeah, the Rousey student section there in the top right-hand portion of North End Zone, if you were watching on television or in the stadium, I can say for certain, with some level of certainty, that there are probably some pretty strong-minded and very good students there that are likely some of the finest engineers that our country has to offer at the undergraduate level. So good to see them. Good to see them party a little bit.
It was nuts, right? Because I noticed it. I think it was early in the third. I was sitting up in the press box, and I was like, "There's maybe like 25 or 50 students at that point that were, I thought, just being idiots." And then
tarps off, baby.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden that crowd definitely grew to 100, and then it looked like it was 150, and then it was at the end at least 200 plus students over there. So shout out to them, but more so shout out to Kyron Drones, Marcellus Hawkins, Philip Montgomery, this offensive line. Mike, I know for a fact I said this to you at some point, and I've said it to many friends over the last week or two. I have been waiting for Virginia Tech to try and operate their offense like Georgia Tech. I'm not expecting the same level of results, but at least run the same damn concepts. You've got similar strengths. Your passing game stinks. Try and find a way to expand on your advantage at running back, which seems to be the best unit on the team. Mike, Virginia Tech ran the ball 50-plus times in this game, 357 rushing yards. They averaged well over 6 yards a carry. They really lined it up in the second half and just went 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Ground Cal into submission. The Golden Bears had no defense for this in the second half. It was awesome to watch in person. It seemed like a light bulb kind of flipped on for Virginia Tech. Did it kind of feel that way at home?
Yeah, it did. This felt a lot like last year's Miami game. And let me explain what I mean by that. Virginia Tech found something that worked and spammed the absolute hell out of it. QB power was pretty prominent in the fourth quarter, especially, and then of course in overtime. Basically just running drones essentially off tackle time and time and time again, running him between the guard and the tackle time and time and time again. Variations of that scheme seemed to work really, really well. I was surprised the Cal's defense essentially had no answers for it. And I was surprised that Virginia Tech's offensive line was able to operate at that kind of level. We hadn't seen that all year. Now, I will say the run blocking has been better this year than the pass blocking, for sure. I thought it was that way, obviously, on Friday as well. Thought Virginia Tech held up okay in pass blocking at times, but then there were some plays where drones had like no time to throw when he did drop back to the pass. So
it looked
that was still
better
kind of a mixed
in
bag.
pass pro the more that they went max protect.
Yeah.
And that was something that Montgomery mentioned in the press conference afterwards, that they tried to bring in 6 or 7 blockers more often in the pass concepts to try and give drones a little bit more time to push the ball downfield. And it worked, right? They had the home run to Takai Heath in the third. That was huge. They were able to push the ball downfield just a little bit more. But ultimately, like you said, Mike, it was a lot of just off tackle, QB power. Marcellus Hawkins in this game, 167, no touchdowns, but averaged 8 yards a carry, which is damn impressive. Even Terrion Stewart had 48 yards, not as efficient on 14 carries, but only 18 pass attempts, Mike. I mean, there was a point in this game, I don't know what the number was, but it seemed like Virginia Tech ran the ball like 20 consecutive plays.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Cal just had no idea how to stop this. They couldn't fit their gaps. They were missing tackles. There were some plays that it was encouraging to see where Virginia Tech was actually able to get the runner well beyond the line of scrimmage before they were contacted, which has not been a common really aspect of this team so far. It's been a lot of yards after contact, getting hit right at the line of scrimmage and trying to make a play. We didn't have to see that as much on Friday.
No, we didn't. And then obviously it was much better as the game went on. I thought Cal linebacker Kedu Labe, who's a very, very good player, he was a force, obviously, in the first half. He finished this game with 19 total tackles, which feels about right considering he was like everywhere in the first half. But I thought Virginia Tech did a much better job neutralizing him in the second half. And I think that showed up, obviously, in the box score with how they ran the ball. Yeah, I will say Virginia Tech clearly found something at halftime. Like there was something that they saw like right before half and going into the break where they were like, all right, guys, I think we got something that could work. Let's just keep running it and see where that takes us. And I mean, Virginia Tech had a string of plays. I have to go back and look, but it was like 19 out of 22 or 18 out of 21 plays like consecutively were runs. It was just like run. And they mixed in a pass here or there, obviously pretty effective. Drones, I thought, made his the best throw that Drones made all night. I thought the touchdown pass to Kai Heath was pretty good on the post, but I thought the best throw he made all night was the one that Heath actually dropped on the sideline. He put it between a safety and a cornerback. It was a great throw, and it literally hit Heath right in the numbers. I can't believe he dropped it. It was shocking.
Thankfully, he made up for it.
He did for sure, and I thought he played pretty well. Obviously, the post route for the touchdown, but then on that short slant as well. That was not a very good throw by Drones. It was actually one of his worst throws of the night outside the interception. He threw it like 2 yards behind Heath. He made an unbelievable catch on it.
Yeah, they said after the game that it was a tight window and Drones was kind of just trying to force it in that tight spot. And it was behind Takai, and he made a hell of a catch going to the ground behind him. And obviously the circumstances of the situation to be able to make that catch in such a point in the game where Virginia Tech was right there trying to win it. I was thoroughly impressed with the resilience again from this team. This is something we've talked about a ton, Mike, ever since Brent Pry took the job. and even after he was fired, this team does not roll over.
Mm-mm.
They may stink for large sections of the game, and we're definitely going to see that again at some point later in the season. We've only got 4 games left, but it would be surprising if Virginia Tech doesn't have a stretch or two over the next 4 games where they stink it up. But we have not seen this team quit yet. And after the game, Philip Montgomery gave an interview to ESPN, and you could tell he was emotional. He came into the press conference Friday night after the game, looked like he was emotional. He was talking about his players and all of the stuff that they've been through all season long. And that's not the first time he's mentioned that in post game, by the way, the fact that the guys on the roster have been through a lot. The other part of it too, and this is what I asked him in the post game presser, was that, he's been through a lot too. This is a guy that's bounced around and really has struggled to find his footing in college football after he finally flamed out at Tulsa. He finally gets a decent job at a Power 4 school, and his boss immediately gets canned 4 games into the season. 3 or 4, right?
Yeah. Yeah, after ODU.
Yeah. So gets canned immediately into the year. He's now asked to lead a team that he recruited none of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
These are not his players. The players did not come to Virginia Tech to play for Philip Montgomery. But he has successfully kept this team together. And obviously, Phil's going to give a ton of credit to the players, and those guys deserve a ton of credit as well. But to be in this position where you are the interim, you know that your days are numbered. Like, he's not going to be the next head coach at Virginia Tech. I like Philip Montgomery, but it's just not going to work out. There's going to be someone else that's brought in. It's going to be a brand new regime. But I am very grateful that we have a coach like Montgomery who is able to lead this team through such a tumultuous time where tons of guys had the opportunity, Mike, to bounce. Tons of players had the opportunity to redshirt and sit for the rest of the season. And there have only been a handful of guys that have done that. Most of the players have suited up every week. They're showing up to practice. They're busting their ass. They're playing through injury. And they're out here winning games against competitive teams, Mike. I mean, Cal was fighting for bowl eligibility on Friday. Cal's probably going to a bowl game. You were able to upset NC State, on the road earlier this year. Now NC State's turning out to not be that good, but they're still a pretty competent football team in the ACC, and you're able to upset them on the road. They should have beat Wake Forest, and Wake Forest is turning out to be much better than we anticipated earlier in the year. So I want to make sure fans, and this is going to be the kind of overarching theme of my column that I'll put out tomorrow, but I want to make sure fans enjoy and appreciate the positives of this awful time that we're living in right now for Virginia Tech football, because there really is some fun stories to be told here. And I think Philip Montgomery's leadership is one of them.
Yeah, I tweeted this after the game, but like Virginia Tech's very fortunate to have Montgomery. Like, he deserves a lot of credit. Veteran coach, again, didn't recruit any of these guys. Came in essentially just trying to get back into college football after what happened at Auburn as the OC there, kind of got a raw deal.
Yep.
Bounced around in other professional sports leagues on the football side, and then lands back in college football. And I think he's done enough to get a call from somebody this offseason and land on his feet for sure. Like, this stuff isn't going to go unnoticed for folks in the coaching circles, and his agent's going to have a lot of good stuff to point to, right, when it comes to Montgomery finding employment elsewhere next season. Virginia Tech is playing really hard for him. They're responding to him. The locker room videos when Virginia Tech wins are incredible under Montgomery. They're so good. You can tell they genuinely they genuinely love playing for this guy, which is great. And I think, like you mentioned, like a lot of guys could have opted out, redshirted, etc. A lot of them stayed, Rick. Like a lot of them stayed and played. Now there's some guys who've been out for a while that haven't formally come out and said, yeah, they're redshirting, and that's fine. But there are a lot of core players that stuck it out this year and played. And I think that's a testament to Montgomery for sure. Real quick, I thought Virginia Tech's defense played okay. I know you give up 34 points, it never looks good. I just thought it was inconsistent, which has been the story of the season defensively.
Yeah.
But the one thing I noticed early in this game, especially, and then in the second half, I thought when Virginia Tech's defense started having more success again, the second quarter was really, really bad for sure. So I don't want to just like go ahead and dismiss that. The second quarter was awful, like really bad.
Second quarter,
and on both sides, like offense and defense, special teams, it was a mess. Like it was a mess. But I thought defensively, Virginia Tech started the game rallying to the football in a way I hadn't really seen them do all year. And I think part of that's just having fresh legs off the bye. I'm sure that was a point of emphasis as well.
Got a ton of pressure on JKS.
A ton of pressure. Yeah. And the second quarter, they took a step back. But I thought in the second half, they did a much better job again of rallying to the football, especially against the run, and then putting pressure on JKS. I thought they were much better with that in the second half. So the end result, like when you look at the stats, looked pretty good. Like Virginia Tech made life hell on Cal in the running game, and JKS was running for his life. They finished 5 for 14 on third down. So like there's a lot of good things buried in a really bad second quarter. Yep. So there are some things I think Virginia Tech's defense can take away and kind of hang their hat on moving forward. And there are going to be some good offenses they're facing down the stretch for sure. But there are some signs of life there with that unit. Now, am I expecting it to be like great the rest of the year? No, I'm expecting it to be more of what we've seen, like more of the same. This is an 8-game sample size. And, I think that while Seifkiss, I think, is an upgrade from Marv, like the personnel's the personnel too, right? And it is, first year in a scheme for a lot of these guys, right? So that's part of it too. You're learning a new scheme, and you're still trying to get the right players in there to fit that scheme, which won't be a problem next year because there'll be a new coaching staff. But
we're going to have the problem. It'll just be
with somebody else.
Players, different scheme.
Right. It'll just be with somebody else with new guys, and maybe a few holdovers here and there. But I thought there were some really, really encouraging signs with the defense. Now, one other thing I want to mention, because we're going to do a coaching discussion here in a minute, but the one thing I want to mention before we transition into that, the officiating was horrible in this football game. I mean, for the love of Jesus, there was the obviously the roughing the passer was one of the single worst calls I've seen. I've watched a lot of college football this year. One of the singular worst calls I've seen made this year.
The worst one I've ever seen, Mike.
I mean, the only reason it even got called as a roughing the passer is because JKS jumped before he tried to attempt that pass. If he doesn't jump, it never gets called as roughing the passer there. He didn't even get tackled hard. Like he just kind of jumped and then got, they would say driven into the ground, but that's not what they called.
What goes up must come down, Michael. And right. JKS went up.
Yeah.
Like, at a certain point, we're not playing football anymore. And I didn't notice it as much during the game, but also I had some friends texting me saying that the spots in this game were off as well.
Yeah.
Like they were constantly misspotting the ball.
Yep.
This was awful. And it blows my mind that we are at a point where it seems like almost every league, whether it be professional or college, cannot get good officiating.
I mean, the SEC just had an official go on, like a whole crew, but the lead official went on essentially like administrative leave. Like they just said, like, you're suspended basically the rest of the year. And then he was like, well, I'm going to retire anyway. It's like, all right, well, that's one way to take care of the problem.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, okay. I don't know. It's a mess. The officiating in college football is a mess. It feels like there are more eyes on it now too. We don't need to go into a whole sports gambling discussion this evening because there's been a lot of stuff in the news with that and other sports.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like there's more attention to even more so now with the officiating than there has been in the past, just because of how prominent that aspect of things are with the
And
sports entertainment.
yeah, damn well we haven't seen the end of that FBI investigation yet. That's more is going to come out about that.
And there's a college basketball prong to it too, like a separate investigation going on that's going to yield some bad stuff. It's looking like so.
Who knew that Heisier Miller was the beginning?
Yeah. He might end up being one of the least consequential individuals.
Yeah, for real. Let's talk about this overtime period. So, obviously, Virginia Tech is in overtime. I want to make sure I don't miss any of the drives here. So, first play of overtime, Cal, boom, touchdown, 25-yard touchdown pass right over the middle.
Wasn't great.
I'm like, come on, man, what the hell are we doing? I was so upset with Sam Seifkis, and I was texting in our group chat with you, Andrew, Joey, and brother-in-law Scott from the Basketball Conference podcast, which if you don't follow that and you are a listener of Hokie Hangover, you should please go follow and subscribe to the Basketball Conference. But Seifkis could not adjust in the second quarter, and it took him until halftime to make that adjustment. So he was slow to make the adjustment, but he made it. And I was very happy. So I thought that Virginia Tech's defense in the second half was much better. They go out there, though, and immediately give up the touchdown. Boom, 25 yards. And I'm like, motherfucker, here we go again.
Here we go again. Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. But I still felt like Virginia Tech's scheme of running the football was something that they can continue doing. It felt sustainable. And sure enough, Virginia Tech 2 plays, boom, they score, touchdown. Tech scores again. And then obviously Tech is able to get the stop there. I thought there was a chance that we were going to get a PI on the final pass breakup, Mike, where IBM is defending it there on the sideline.
Oh, I did too.
I was just waiting for the flag. We had multiple targeting calls that were thrown in this game that were reviewed. Now
that weren't even close.
Yeah, I want to say I'm glad that we review these. Obviously, we didn't used to, and this is why we have to review shit like this, because
correct.
The referees on the field don't know what targeting is, and they're being asked to call targeting in games, but they don't know what actual targeting is. So we have to rely on the folks at the control center, whatever the hell they're calling it, in Charlotte, that are able to look at 71 different camera angles, sync them up, and determine whether or not this is targeting. But Virginia Tech almost had 2 targeting calls. I thought may or may not have gotten away with a PI there at the end, but this was one hell of an overtime period. All the while, Enter Sandman played like 3 times in between stoppages of play. I mean, it was I don't know what it felt like on TV, Mike, but Lane Stadium was maybe half full at this point, and it felt very raucous, very loud, very rowdy, which is just kind of surprising that they were still able to have that kind of atmosphere that late in the ball game.
Yeah, it was loud on TV for sure. So Cal scores to start the first overtime. Virginia Tech scores, and then I did the thing where I'm screaming, "Go for 2, go for 2, go for 2," because just you have to use your bet. You have to start going for 2 in the second overtime. I go on this soapbox with this all the time, and I get the argument against it. The argument against it is, well, give your defense a chance to get a stop in the second overtime. My point is, you have to use your best 2-point play coming up anyway. So why don't you use it right now and just win the game and get it over with? The downside, of course, is if you don't get it, you lose. Fine. Virginia Tech kicks the extra point, send it to the second overtime. This obviously worked out for the Hokies.
Well supported in the comments. It sounded much more full than half on TV. Kind of agreeing with Mike there. I'm glad it did, Will, because the stadium emptied out a lot at halftime.
Yeah. It was definitely loud. I was encouraged by Virginia Tech then coming back out offensively and then just scoring again. And that was we already referenced it, but that was the drones slant to Heath. They threw a little behind him in a tight window.
Yep.
I'm not going to kill drones for that throw. First of all, I haven't really said this enough. Drones was unbelievable
Yeah.
this game, by the way. Like
Best performance of his career at Virginia Tech, I think, without question.
You put the team on his back.
5 total touchdowns. He had almost 300 total yards. Carried this offense in the second half, literally on his back.
Yeah.
Just an incredible, gritty, just gutty perseverance from start to finish in this one. Was very, very, very happy for Kyron as someone that's been criticized a lot, and rightfully so, if we're being honest, but he earned it on Friday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, throws that heinous interception and then comes back and just totally flushed it like nothing happened, which we haven't seen. We've seen mistakes compound throughout his career, and he didn't let that happen. But anyway, I'm not going to get on drones for throwing it a little bit behind Heath because it was a tight window and he just drilled it in there. Great catch by Heath. And then this is when Enter Sandman started playing, and it was literally like, okay, first down. Enter Sandman's blaring before the play. Mm-hmm. Then they shut it off because they can't play it, pre-snap. So they shut it off. And then while they're waiting to spot the ball, they continue Enter Sandman. And then they shut it off again until they spot the ball. Then they spot the ball on third down. Meanwhile, Enter Sandman's blaring again. It's just a continuation, right? Yeah. It's a continuation. It's not like they restarted.
It had to have felt like hell for Cal in that
just
situation.
Pause, play. After the third down, right before the fourth down play, JKS had gotten drilled, and he got up, and he was just like laboring a little bit, looked to his sideline. Enter Sandman's just blaring. I'm like, this guy's an absolute hell.
Freshman QB. It doesn't get to play in this kind of atmosphere very often.
On the freaking East Coast at like 8:00 his time, in the middle of the mountains.
And it was cold by that point, Mike. It was well into the 30s by that point.
Against a 2-5 football team with an interim coach, and he's in absolute hell with the stadium half full. Can't hear anything. I mean, just yeah. Good to get the win.
Yeah, it was huge. And again, that's the thing I want. I think I want Virginia Tech fans to enjoy the most, and this is why I wrote that column a couple weeks back where I said Tech fans need to continue watching these games. You're right. In the grand scheme of things, these games do not matter, right? No one is going to remember how good the run blocking was probably in this game. But what they are going to remember is that Virginia Tech had a comeback in this one. Kyron Drone scored 5 total touchdowns. There were 250 visionaries in the student section without shirts on, making a shit ton of noise. These are the kinds of things that you could enjoy 15 years from now when you're talking about the doldrums of your football fandom.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get caught up as football fans, especially in college football. Well, we're not making the playoff. Who gives a shit, right? Like, who cares about the season? We're not making the playoff. That's the thing about college football, is that there's so much more to enjoy than just the playoff. And that's not to dismiss that, yes, I want Virginia Tech in the playoff. I want Virginia Tech competing for conference championships. But you can't miss the forest for the trees here. You have to be able to appreciate all of the little things when it comes to college football. And this is one of those little things. And we're all going to be very happy when we can flush most of this season down the drain and move on with a brand new coach who can hopefully get this program to where we all want it to be. But until then, and even past that point, we should appreciate these kinds of moments because they are really fun. And for me, as someone in the box that obviously cannot express my fandom there, it was still a hell of a time to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. The fan support is unbelievable for this football program. I mean, it wasn't a sellout, obviously, on Friday night, but there were a lot of people who still went to this game
It's
and made
hard to
it.
get sellouts on Friday night,
Mhm.
especially for a team that is 2-5.
Yep. Yeah. It's people work and it's hard to get there. But it was loud there. I mean,
It
it
was.
was loud. Enter Sandman production on ESPN was great, as it always is. We don't want it to just be about the entrance, but I think this was one of those games, right? In prime time. Like if you're a coach, right, that's interviewing for this position and you see that and you see the fan support when the team sucks, you don't really have to worry about whether or not they're going to stick with you while you're turning this thing around. Like they're going to show up for you. I mean, we talked about that even with Pry, right? Before Pry got fired, fans were still showing up, man. Uh, it's an unbelievable atmosphere. The product on the field just hasn't matched it, right? I mean, Tech's had some of their worst losses over the last 10 years when it's really been up and down. They've had some of their worst losses at home,
Mhm.
in this stretch of football. So fan base deserves a winner. We've talked about that a million times. They deserve a coach. They can get the most out of them, or at least just get this thing turned around. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm settling, but it's been bad, right? So especially like specifically the last 5 years have been pretty bad. So
Yeah,
yeah,
if you're a prospective head coach, and I tweeted this um, not long after kickoff because I thought the Enter Sandman production was great, but also the in-person atmosphere during Enter Sandman was great, and it always is. But I had to remind myself that this team is 2-5. It's got an interim head coach. It's 40 degrees. It's on a Friday night. A lot of people can't get off, and Tech still had the place 85% full,
yeah,
and it was loud as hell in there, and it was loud as hell well into the first quarter. Um, Obviously, the second quarter stuck, and that's when fans started to get a little quiet and get a little restless. But the fact that even then in double OT, you had, I don't know, 30,000 fans, 35,000 fans still there screaming their asses off for a 2-5 team and an interim head coach, like you can win at Virginia Tech, especially with the money that's coming down the pipe. You can win in Blacksburg, and that's a message that I hope Virginia Tech is pushing behind the scenes. They're obviously not doing anything in the public view at the moment because they've locked down that process. But um, I really hope that we're leaning into that. That this is a place that's going to get you the elite level fan support that you're looking for, and you're also going to have a much more patient fan base in Blacksburg than you will in, say, Baton Rouge
yeah,
or State College.
yeah, yeah. The Virginia Tech job, and maybe this is where we transition into this, but
Yeah.
the Virginia Tech job, like a lot of a lot of big time programs are opening, right? Like LSU opening is a little bit of a surprise, like not a shock, but kind of a surprise. The Saturday night's game really spiraled for LSU, so I'm not shocked that they were at least discussing this today. But it sounded like there was a pretty heated meeting between Kelly and the AT this afternoon. Scott
Yeah,
Woodward.
which let's talk about him real quick, Mike. This is something that you talked about right before we went on air.
Yeah, I mean, Woodward is kind of skating here a little bit, and I don't think he should. Like
Who are
he
the
has
last two
now
coaches that he's fired? Like,
the last two. Well, he didn't fire Jimbo, but he hired him
that's
at
right. Yeah.
A&M. And the point that you're trying to make is the buyouts, right? So Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly. Now Brian Kelly's buyout might end up being a little bit lower. It's the official announcement coming out from LSU announcing Kelly's dismissal this evening, like literally right before we hit record, said that they're still negotiating the terms of the buyout. Kelly's owed $53 million. That's the second highest buyout ever in the history of the sport behind Jimbo Fisher, who Scott Woodward, by the way, hired at Texas A&M before he got to LSU. So now Woodward is responsible for two gigantic buyouts. One, I guess, one he didn't have to deal with directly at A&M because he had left, but those are two coaching hires that essentially failed, right? Jimbo failed after he left, and then he gets to LSU, and the Brian Kelly hire has failed. Kelly's still a good coach. He's went 34-14 at LSU. If he wants to continue coaching, there will be a number of programs that would be interested in having him for sure. But it's year 4 and you got your third loss and you still have some tough games left on the schedule. Like, this thing was going to spiral quickly. Also, Kelly was talking a pretty big game last year. LSU had finished off their season. I think they had beaten, I got to go back and see who it was they beat towards the end of the year. But he essentially said something along the lines of, "We're taking receipts and we'll see you in the national championship," is what he said. And then they put together like a 16 or $17 million roster, and they were very open about how much money they spent putting this roster together this year, except they swung and missed on all of their offensive linemen, and they haven't been able to protect Garrett Nussmeier all year, and Nussmeier will be in the pros and probably look better than he did in college, which will be a problem
He's
for
banged
them.
up now, right?
Really, I mean, he's been hurt really since like early to mid-September. I mean, he's been really banged up because they haven't been able to protect him.
LSU ended the year in 24, beating Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and then the bowl game against Baylor.
So it was the Oklahoma game that when Kelly had the post-game press conference saying, "We're taking receipts and we'll see you in the national championship." You can't say stuff like that at a high-pressure job like LSU, because then when you lose a game or two that you shouldn't, or maybe they weren't really expecting you to lose, then the pressure is ratcheted up to like a 14. Not to say that
checks you can't cash.
Right. Which is why, like, I mean, if he went like 7-5 this year, they're probably getting rid of him anyway. Point being, this LSU job is easily the best one on the market right now. It's going to be the top one, unless I'm trying to think of like what jobs I'd even consider in the neighborhood. Maybe like Texas. Like if Texas opens, there was a weird like Steve Sarkisian report over the weekend saying he was interested in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that could be the only other one that, if that were to open, maybe that obviously rivals LSU. But LSU, Penn State, and Florida, whatever order you have them in, are the top 3 jobs. But I think Virginia Tech's got a really good argument to be 4th. And there are a number of national football writers that cover the sport for a living year round, like know what they're talking about. I haven't seen one of those types of people like CBS Sports, NBC, like Nicole Auerbach, NBC, has Virginia Tech 4th now behind LSU, Florida, and Penn State. And she basically just said access to the college football playoff and the money they're putting into the program and the fan base is a reason why you put this job ahead of like Arkansas, which hasn't given that type of commitment to football, or Oklahoma State, which hasn't given that type of commitment to football from an NIL rev share standpoint. So point being, like, there are some big jobs that are opening, but I think Virginia Tech still has an opportunity, even though they've had a down last 5 years in particular. I still think they have an opportunity here to get a really good coach in here. Like, they've been talking about, oh, we'll pay upwards of like $9-10 million if we think this is a guy that's going to like really turn the football program around. I'm all for spending that for a sitting power conference head coach with a good track record. I think Virginia Tech can still get that even with these big openings.
So here's my concern where we're at now. So LSU, Penn State, Florida. Let's go ahead and put Florida State in there because I think we're all expecting that to open as well.
Yeah.
How of those 4, how many of them are going to hire Power 4 coaches right now? At least half, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
That's 2 more jobs that Virginia Tech is going to have to compete with. That's my concern. So if you look at, the easiest example is Lane Kiffin. So if Kiffin were to take the Florida job, or if he is feeling ballsy, he can go to LSU.
Yeah, I think he should take LSU over Florida.
So
they'll pay him more.
Yeah, for sure. But if he does that, then Ole Miss opens. And Ole Miss is a better job than Virginia Tech is right now, in my opinion.
And
it's a absolutely brutal conference. I get that, but Ole Miss has been a winner for the last several years.
And Ole Miss would be swimming in the same type of candidate pool that Virginia Tech would be.
Yes.
In that,
Now,
I
maybe
think
not so much geographically, but in terms of the quality of candidate, they're in the same pool.
I would agree, because I think they would be more in the John Sumrall, Alex Galesh business, which is where I think Virginia Tech could potentially see their hiring being made, like in that
Yeah.
pool, versus like Virginia Tech obviously isn't going to land Lane Kiffin, right?
Yeah. But what about Matt Rule or Matt Campbell? I mean, so then you end up with
Yeah.
Nebraska and Iowa State
Mm-hmm.
that are opening. Now, I don't know if they're going to be in the same pools either because of geography, but certainly in terms of quality of candidate, you could expect Virginia Tech to be trying to hire the same caliber of guy.
I agree.
So
It's
I
not
think
these top
my
jobs. It's the jobs that could open as a result of these top jobs
that's
opening.
my worry is that all
Yeah.
the cascading openings that we're going to see.
Yeah.
And that's why it is really important that this search committee is doing a ton of work right now.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be interviewing as many people as they are possibly interested in. They need to be doing all of their background research so that way the second these seasons are over, they can start lining up interviews immediately because you
Yeah.
want to get these guys hired before jobs like Ole Miss or Nebraska or Iowa State open up.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
I would much rather Virginia Tech have their head coach in the door and then Lane Kiffin says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to Florida or I'm going to LSU." Because now I don't give a shit about Ole Miss. I could care less. They can figure it out.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really hoping that that's what Virginia Tech is going to be doing. I would like to see this hire made pretty quickly. I don't know, obviously, if that's going to happen, but I think that Virginia Tech needs to be ready to lock somebody up as soon as possible.
I think all Virginia Tech can do, because a lot of the guys that they're interested in interviewing are the guys that a lot of these Ole Miss adjacent jobs would be interested in interviewing. Like, these guys are going to wait for the best possible
And
job
yeah,
offer.
that's a concern,
So
right?
I think what Virginia Tech can do in the meantime, right? Because some of it's out of their control in terms of timing. Like they can what they can do right now is interview and do background research on as many candidates as possible, right?
Yeah.
That way you are comfortable, right? You're comfortable hiring your fallback of your fallback of your fallback of your fallback of your plan A, right? I don't want them to be in a position like they were last time where it seemed like it took them forever to make a call. Other jobs were filling.
Yep.
And then Brent Pry kind of came out of nowhere and we knew who was like the 10th option on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I think because like Brent Pry getting hired last time, that didn't start really circulating until the night before. It was like, oh, Pry's getting some traction. And that name kind of came out of nowhere.
A lot of fans had no idea who Brent Pry was.
Right. It was a lot of like Matt Campbell smoke for a while.
Some Billy Napier, if I remember, at some point.
Yeah, it went from Napier to Napier got the Florida job. He said no thanks to Tech. And then it was Matt Campbell there for a week or two or 10 days, however long it was.
Yeah.
And then he got an extension at Iowa State, which,
of course.
Yeah, but I think what Virginia Tech can do in the meantime, right, is do as much background research as possible. I think the good news for Virginia Tech here is that this is a lot more attractive opening due to the funding, right, being pumped into this program. This is a more attractive opening than it was last time around. Like Fuente was leaving nothing from a roster standpoint.
Yep.
There were a lot of seniors on that team. There aren't a ton of seniors on this team. And I don't know if the next guy is going to want to keep a lot of these young players around. Like, time will tell, and who knows if these guys will even want to stay. It's also a new era, right? With rev sharing and NIL and all that. It's just different than it was when Pry was hired.
One transfer portal window too,
and only one transfer portal window now. So like it's a different time now than it was when Pry was first hired. All that was still kind of starting up. So it's a lot different landscape. It's a different job now too, though. And I think whoever inherits this has an opportunity to keep a lot of guys around that have multiple years of eligibility left that could be good building blocks, right? If you're trying to jumpstart a rebuild, I don't think you'll be starting from ground zero. Pry was in a pretty tough spot when he got here from a roster construction standpoint. We knew that. Like
Yep.
it was really, really bad. And there is some talent on this roster. Like it's not phenomenal. It's a lot of young guys, right? It's a lot of young guys getting their feet wet, but you can see like week over week, you're seeing guys start to put things together, right? Where, you know, maybe in a couple years, some of these same players who we're saying right now aren't contributing consistently enough, aren't very good, haven't put it all together. Maybe in a couple years, we're like, oh, okay, well, they figured it out, they matured, right? They end up being pretty good college football players for Virginia Tech. Whoever the next guy is, I think is going to have a better opportunity, right, with some of the younger guys on the roster. Whereas Pry came in and it was like, all these guys are new. Like we have no idea who our quarterback's going to be. Like we're importing all these transfers. Like we have no idea like who's going to be on this roster. And I think the next guy will have an opportunity to turn over the roster and will have more flexibility to do so because of the institutional support now. But there's also just a better roster of players, I think, to pick from too. So I do think this is an attractive job still. But my concern, Ricky, is in line with what you're saying, where it's not the jobs that are opening right now at the top. Like Virginia Tech's not swimming in the LSU candidates. Like they're not swimming in the Florida candidates
Unless LSU is gonna, fire Kelly to hire somebody like Summerall, which is in that same quality of candidate.
That was my next point. I was actually going to make that with Florida. Like unless Florida goes and hires Summerall or Golash and goes back to the G5, right? Then okay, Virginia Tech is swimming in the same pool of candidates, but I have a feeling LSU is going to swing for like Kiffin, and then if Kiffin says no, they're going to call Elko, and if Elko says no, they're going to call Freeman. Freeman says no. You know what I mean? Like I think
can't imagine Elko leaving Texas A&M. That would seem almost suicidal.
It would be surprising.
Couple comments I want to highlight. And Dennis 133. If you're doing 9 to 10 million a year, I would not do a 10-year deal like a lot of these seems to be. 4 to 5 years would be the smart move. Yeah. The whole 10-year thing seems like something you can do if you're Texas A&M or somebody like that, and you can actually write those buyout checks. But Virginia Tech probably needs to stay in the 4 to 6 year category and try and keep these contracts limited to that. Another one, obviously, Beamer is king means Dan Lanning to LSU. Another one, why the hell would Dan Lanning leave?
He loves Oregon too.
You're in Oregon essentially will get you whatever you want from a resources perspective. You're recruiting against a lot less of or a lot fewer elite schools on the West Coast. And you kind of have your picking of who you want on the West Coast now.
Yeah, and they raid California.
Yeah,
like they really
and they
have
should,
to compete against
right?
USC. Still, it's really
they should raid California. So you've got that, and you're obviously having the access at the Big Ten level. I can't imagine. I think Dan Lanning is going to be at Oregon until they either fire him or he retires. I don't.
And the Big Ten's an easier path than the SEC. Like the Big Ten is very top heavy. There's a lot of like mad teams in the middle. Like we joke about the ACC with that, there's.
And then you look around and you see Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan State and
all getting smoked this weekend.
UCLA, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny now that UCLA lost. Tim Skipper is getting put on these graphics, but when UCLA was winning, it was all Neuheisel, which is poor Tim Skipper, man. The guy's coaching his ass off.
I know. And Neuheisel's giving Skipper a ton of credit and all these he's saying all the right stuff. Good. Like he's like, guys, I'm not the I'm just like getting the locker room
I'm
going.
A new guy calling plays. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, like Skipper made me call the plays, by the way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he put him in place. He was like, nah, you're gonna call the plays now. Like when he was the interim, he's like, nah, Jerry Neuheisel, it's your turn.
Yeah.
Like we're making a change at play caller too. Yeah, so I mean the downstream effect will be really interesting to see now. But yeah, Virginia Tech just needs to interview as many people as possible and have a very open mind. I didn't love everybody locking in on Shane Beamer. By the way, I think South Carolina, the way they lost that Alabama game, was not on Shane.
Mm-mm.
So
They ran out of talent.
I mean, the fumble was like to give Alabama a short field like that at the end of the game is horrible, and that's not I can't put that on coaching when a running back is gang tackled and loses the ball. I don't know what to really say about that. But my point is, I don't think I get the South Carolina loss, but I don't think the fans are calling for Shane Beamer's head because of how they lost. I mean, he had them ready to play against Bama on Saturday. So I think for folks that are Virginia Tech fans that are Shane supporters, right? They're saying, well, hey, that's the reason why you should bring him to Blacksburg. But then I think South Carolina, like from an administration standpoint, you see that Shane has been doing this every year where he gets them ready to go, but then they falter in other games, right? It's like, okay, is like 6-6, 7-5 really what we want to do here?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if they fire him or what they want to do. I think they're probably going to give him an opportunity to change up some coordinators. I think Shane, unless he thinks he's getting fired at the end of this season, I think he would be crazy to take the Virginia Tech job.
I'm really hoping that South Carolina gives him another year because I don't want the South Carolina job open while Virginia Tech is trying to hire.
That's more of it for me. It's not even the Shane piece of it. It's like I don't want that job opening because I think that would be the candidates there. I think would be adjacent to what Virginia Tech would be interested in.
I'm going to posit a theory, and you can tell me if I'm off on this. So a certain basketball coach had a ton of success at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm referring to?
Brian Kelly?
Well, I said basketball.
Oh, sorry.
But Mick Cronin.
Yeah. Yep.
Where is Mick Cronin coaching now?
He's at UCLA.
He is. Mike, do you know where Brian Kelly used to coach football?
Cincinnati?
Yeah. You know what job is open?
UCLA.
I don't know. For some reason, I get Mick Cronin to UCLA vibes.
I knew where you were going
when I think about Brian Kelly to UCLA. Sure, why not? I don't know. Like
what I think would be really interesting is if LSU. I don't think this is going to happen because I think LSU really wants Lane Kiffin, but I think LSU and Penn State should do a coach swap. I think LSU should hire James Franklin, and I think Penn State should hire Brian Kelly. That's what I think should happen. I think that's a better fit.
Hold on.
Better fit for both guys.
Time out. So Brian Kelly just got fired because he couldn't win the big one at LSU.
Yeah.
Why did James Franklin get fired at Penn State?
Same thing at Penn. But
come on.
But Brian Kelly, from a geographical standpoint, right? He had the success at Cincinnati, had the success at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is like a Big Ten job, right? In terms of who you're recruiting. And I know Notre Dame recruits nationally, but their base is still the Midwest. Types of players are getting there. Kelly, I think, is either from Ohio or Pennsylvania. I think he would make a lot more sense. Like, what was the one thing everybody said about Kelly when he went to LSU? Everybody said that's not a cultural fit. I think he would be a much better fit in that regard at Penn State. Like, I think he's more of a Big Ten coach than an SEC coach.
Can I tell you, Mike, that Brian Kelly going to LSU and all of the fake like code switching he was doing and trying to he was doing those like stupid carousel photo video
with recruits with Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, I lost so much respect for Brian Kelly when he was doing that.
The one that went viral was with Nuss.
Is that the one that went viral?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 90% sure.
I saw a tweet on X that I'm trying to find because it's very important to what we're talking about right now. If I find it here, I'll source it here in a second.
Was it the one with the surfer bro? It was like Brian Kelly if you went to UCLA. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'll send that to you later. That one was good too.
But what it was saying was it was someone who writes for some outlet. I'm not familiar with. I can't remember what the outlet was. and they said that they know someone that is close to Brian Kelly, and when they were asked what Brian Kelly would do if LSU fired him with a $50 million buyout, they said Brian Kelly would never coach again. So maybe he's done. I mean,
He could be.
He's 64.
His birthday was today, I think, or yesterday,
He's
ironically.
he's been around. He's had a ton of coaching. If his heart isn't in it, he has no business continuing to do this. Like, college football coaching becomes more demanding every single year. You're continuing to work hours. You're having to learn all these different rules and regulations because they change every time as far as rev share and NIL and the portal. I mean, maybe he's done. Like,
He could be.
He doesn't need to do this anymore. So I am curious to see if Kelly lands on his feet at one of these big jobs. I don't know if Florida would give him a hire. I don't know if Penn State would give him a call. I will say that if Penn State is trying to decide who should be at the top of their coaching board, I would put Brian Kelly over Matt Rule.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not a Brian Kelly fan, but
yeah.
I bet Penn State could do a lot worse than Brian Kelly if that's the direction they wanted to go.
Yeah. I mean, he just got fired for going 34-14. You know how many schools would kill for that in 3.5 years?
Our school would.
Right. Virginia Tech head coach Brian Kelly.
I mean, we're not that far from Cincinnati. We're not that far.
If you squint really hard, Brian Kelly, you're still pretty close to. It's not that you're not that far removed from the Cincinnati job. If you really think about it, you were like only one of the longest tenured coaches in Notre Dame history, and then spent almost 4 full seasons at LSU.
Another person that, like you mentioned, that I don't think should be leaving is Marcus Freeman.
Yeah,
I think it would be silly of Marcus Freeman to leave Notre Dame right now. As long as they have access to the playoff, there's really no point in him moving elsewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Like you get to play like half your schedule because of the weird ACC agreement, which is stupid for them. It's stupid. I get why the ACC did it for television reasons, but for Notre Dame, wouldn't Notre Dame like? I guess from a scheduling standpoint, now with the playoff things are a little bit different. But back in the day, right, like the BCS era, they wanted to play one of the toughest schedules in the country. That way, they could have a chance at making a big time bowl game or a national title.
And they
game.
never got a conference championship game where they could
Right.
get an extra game against a top 10 opponent.
Right. So they were down with playing Michigan and USC and good Stanford and good Michigan State. Like they were down with playing all those games every year. Now it's like, all right, we get to play, whatever it is, 5 or 6 ACC schools. A lot of times we're playing the bad ones. And then we play a
Crazy
couple
how that
premier
works
games
out,
here.
Mike.
Yeah. I mean they've played Clemson a couple times, but like they had Miami in the opener this year. But like you look at the rest of their schedule, and they just beat USC. They had a bye. But like who else did they play this year in AC, like in regards to like the ACC? They haven't played anybody. They played A&M and USC out of conference. Out of conference. I put in quotes. Obviously, Notre Dame's not in a conference, but I'm talking like their non-ACC opponents. It's Stanford and Navy, USC, and Texas A&M this year. Like
I'm pulling it up now.
They played Boise, and Arkansas were the others.
Yeah, the daunting ACC run of NC State, Boston College, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford.
Yeah, I mean, they got a great. They have. they got Boston College this weekend. They have a great chance to go 10-2.
Jim Phillips, man, no words.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough Notre Dame talk on the Virginia Tech podcast.
Yeah, I know you'd love to do that all night.
Yeah, I would. I would.
Alas, as long as I'm around, damn it, that will not happen. So Virginia Tech is 3-5, technically still alive for a bowl game. Technically, somebody said that their was technically still alive for the ACC championship game, which
please. Let's all grow up, please.
I mean,
I get they're 2-2, but they'd have to win a bunch of tie breaks.
yes, yeah. Georgia Tech escaped again. They're actually no, they didn't escape this week. They actually
No,
they beat the
they beat the freaking brakes off Syracuse.
Virginia escaped again.
Virginia
They
escaped.
did not look very good.
They are not beating the allegations, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I will say, Mike, I'm of the opinion that Virginia Tech can get to 5-7. There is
I
an
think so.
outside shot they can win 2 of these games. They've got Louisville next week. I don't think
Whelmed
they
by
beat
Louisville.
Louisville.
Just whelmed. I was whelmed by Louisville. They looked very average.
They
Very
played
average
the
against
most
BC.
football game of all time.
Yeah. Very, very average game against Boston College.
Yeah. I don't think they're winning next week, but I think they can beat Louisville. Again, I think that they lose. They're opened at like 10.5-point dogs.
Yeah, Louisville's got a really, really good defense. So
But I do think Tech can go on the road and beat Florida State.
yeah.
I'm coming around to that.
Mhm.
And depending on how they look against Louisville, I may be willing to put my flag into that one.
Yep. I mean, the Miami game was close last year. Miami took forever to blow out Stanford last night.
They're all over the place. They played with their food for the first half against Stanford.
Didn't hit the gas.
Yeah. Well, and that's always been the thing with Miami.
Yeah.
Whenever they want to be there and they're engaged, they can compete with just about anybody, but it's always been a want to thing over there.
Yeah.
And then obviously Virginia at the end of the year. Virginia is eminently beatable.
Yes.
Chandler Morris is banged up.
He's hurt. That's why if he's fully healthy, that's a really hard game to win. He's banged up. He's hurt.
He took some shots this week.
Yeah, he's hurt.
They've looked very mediocre the last 2 weeks. Let me see who's on the remaining schedule for Virginia.
It's soft.
Don't they have to get Wake?
Yeah, I think they still play Wake.
So they get Cal, Wake, Duke, and Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
They're losing one of these 4.
They'll lose one of the 4. They'll lose one of the 4 for sure. Yeah, I agree.
They're losing one, and they might lose 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. If they keep playing like they're playing, like they've played the last 2 weeks, they're going to get beat.
They've got a West Coast trip to Cal, which I'll probably pick UVA to win that game.
Let me see the spread on this, by the way. Yeah, I mean, Virginia opened only as a 3.5-point road favorite at Cal, to give you an idea of how Vegas feels about the type of football Virginia is playing right now.
And then Wake Forest, man, like that November 8th game is not going to be a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Dickert's he's got him coached up. I'll give him that.
Yeah, Wake's going to make a bowl game.
Yeah, they are. Must be nice. Duke.
Yeah.
Duke, I would take Manny Diaz over Tony Elliott. So
yeah,
I think Duke has the coaching advantage, and then the UVA game's crapshoot. So again, going back to the point, I think Tech can get to 5 wins this year.
Yeah,
I don't think it's likely. I think they probably end up at 4, but I think they can get there.
I think they squeeze out one more. I think 5's a possibility. I agree with you. I just think it's like you play this 4-game stretch 10 times, you're probably only winning one of them.
If we can only get to 4, Mike, you know which one we want to
win. I want to win the finale to knock him out of the conference championship.
Mike, I swear to God, if Tony Elliott loses at home to interim coached Virginia Tech to get knocked out of Charlotte, oh, they're going to be hot. They're
going to be funny.
So bad.
It'd be funny. It'd be funny. I had some UVA fans really mad at me today because somebody tweeted that this is my last thing, then we can wrap. Somebody tweeted that UNC is a bigger rival for UVA than Virginia Tech. You know, and quoted that and said that's because they engage in an annual coin flip mid-off, which made a lot of Virginia fans really upset. And they're, of course, they talked about Virginia Tech being, having to play UVA multiple times for bowl eligibility. And I agree. That's two mid teams, but Virginia never beats them.
Yeah.
So it's a very one-sided mid-off, Rick.
Yeah. You can't, like, UVA is going to have to start winning some of these games. Now, granted, UVA is probably going to be favored in that game in late November, but going to have to start winning some of those.
Yeah.
Any last words before we get out of here?
Now we're good. Got to go record my ACC pod.
Well, have fun with that. If you're doing that right now after this,
I am live
if you're a sicko and you want to listen to some ACC recap, head on over to the basketball conference. We support all of them. We appreciate them. We'll be back here in a few days. We'll get you a Louisville preview. But until then, folks, go Hokies.